It was a time of celebration. Everyone was counting down to Christmas. Sparkling lights, gifts, and remembrance of a long-ago birth. One family in particular was awaiting the birth of their 7th child. Mom and Dad were picking out names, and the siblings were wondering if they were going to get a brother or a sister. Christmas offered more this year than in times past. The time came for the birth. The baby was born healthy, but Mom did not make it. Dad did not know how to make sense of it and how to celebrate Christmas at such a time of loss. Enter Almina Smock-Weibel.
She just gathered a group of volunteers together and took care of that need. And then they just kept going, and they called it Paul's Pantry because what they mostly did at that point was to feed people. As needs evolved and as the community grew and as others became interested in helping, it became an ecumenical venture supported by the Christian churches of Westerville.
The growth and need of the community overwhelmed the small pantry. Does Westerville really have people in need?
It grew from one family to insurmountable numbers that none of us had any idea 45 years ago that would do.
What would it look like if all of the churches came together to be the hands and feet of Christ? W.A.R.M, 30 churches of varying sizes and denominations, began the mission of gathering resources to feed the hungry and clothe those who needed assistance. As the growth continued, it was evident that a separate agency needed to be created.
W.A.R.M evolved from that.
Westerville Area Resource Ministry, W.A.R.M, became a fully self-supported 501c3 with the purpose of administering hope and dignity to the community. Choosing to serve not only the city of Westerville, but also the entire Westerville School District, widened the footprint to 52 square miles and included parts of Columbus through the School Win-Win Initiative. The school district was the 10th largest district at the time.
We have kids that are brought in from Columbus, and those are the ones who are at or below the poverty line.
When you say Westerville, what comes to mind is a middle to upper middle class community that most people would probably assume doesn't have much of a need for a ministry like that of W.A.R.M. But by serving on the board and being active in the community, we are able to see and to know that Westerville is a very diverse community. There are those that live right here among us that are in need.
W.A.R.M moved out of the basement of St. Paul's Church and relocated to 175 East Broadway Avenue. Using one room of the building in the late 1990s, it was apparent W.A.R.M had to expand to the entire space of 6,000 square feet. What a tremendous blessing, all that space. Surely this will serve for decades. Yet, God seemed to know the plans He had for the W.A.R.M community.
The old facility was like a house in a way. You know, it was very tight-knit, office spaces were really close. You know, every conversation everyone was having, you could hear it because we were all so close.
It was hard for the volunteers to be able to talk with the individuals on a regular basis because it was so crowded and there just wasn't time to really concentrate on the individual.
Staffed by mainly part-time employees, volunteers were the foundation of executing the mission and vision of W.A.R.M.
Pretty much the first day I came to work, my manager sat me down and said, "We're gonna move." And she told me that I was gonna be in charge of getting the volunteers for the move, just helping plan the whole move. It was my first job.
I found this place about 25 years ago. I volunteer here because I know there's a need in the community and I like to reach out to other people, help people, and I just kind of found my place here. So I've stayed here ever since.
Through volunteer staff, board members, and advocates, best practices were developed to provide the highest quality service. Through trial and error, W.A.R.M landed on a three-pronged holistic approach to caring for individuals and families: nutrition services, employment coaching, and resource connections. Westerville really have people in need? Was being answered with a resounding yes.
Many people, when You say Westerville, what comes to mind is a middle to upper middle class community that most people would probably assume doesn't have much of a need for a ministry like that of W.A.R.M.
Many people have a set feeling in their mind of what Westerville looks like. And if you live in a prosperous neighborhood, you think everyone lives that way. If you live in an older, smaller neighborhood, you think everyone lives that way. But there are people in any neighborhood in our community, no matter where you live, that need W.A.R.M. There's a person in our neighborhood who is making a lot of money and got fired from his job, had no income, had to come to W.A.R.M. as the only place he could get food for his family while he's raising, while trying to find a job. That's what W.A.R.M's here for. There's a term called situational poverty, I believe applies to that. You never know when that may be you that needs them.
The biggest thing for me is you can't judge a person in need by how they look, what vehicle drive, what kind of house they live in.
W.A.R.M continued to serve with the tenet of providing dignity and hope by offering a hand up, not a handout. Clients were safe at W.A.R.M.
When the clients come in, we know they're all having hard times, so we just try to work with them where they are and not worry about the circumstances of how they got there, but what we can do to help them.
There's always a friendly atmosphere here. You always feel loved. You always feel taken care of. And that's what you need in a facility like this, because people are down and out by the time they get here, and they've not had any companionship or friendship.
A couple of the ladies, they always pray with me, and that is just a very big encouragement, just to have that connection, that spiritual connection, and we can get together and pray. So it's not only just the physical, the natural. The government's not going to pray for me, but praise God, I can come to W.A.R.M and I can receive prayer. So awesome.
The value add in the Westerville community as W.A.R.M continued to minister was noticeable as leadership recognized that the community was only as strong as the health and well-being of all of its residents.
Westerville, in terms of demographics, is one of the oldest suburban communities in the Columbus metro area. And that being the case, there are seniors that live in our community on a fixed income that have challenges, that have economic decisions to make as to whether or not they should buy their medicine or whether they should buy food.
A speaker at Rotary last year made a fairly startling statement. He was from NCR, National Church Residents, and he made a comment that in 2016 there were, for the first time ever, more Depends sold than diapers.
Westerville Area Kids Lunch Club was formed in 2011, serving at one site, and today has 10 sites, serving free lunches to children who might not receive a meal when school is not in session.
So the free lunch is so important during the summer, especially because the kids who do receive the free or reduced lunch program at school are no longer receiving those meals. So there's no guarantee that those kids are going to be able to receive cheap or quality meals during the summer, which makes our program so important to them.
Today, Westerville Area Resource Ministry is located at 150 Heatherdown Drive, a 42,000 square foot building, nearly 7 times that of the one on East Broadway. Throughout the years, the needs of the community have risen, and God has provided through volunteers, financial champions, and people telling others that if you are in need of help, there is this place called W.A.R.M.
It's the first phone call I would tell people is, if you need some help, have you tried W.A.R.M?
Locations were changed, buildings have, and continue to be transformed.
It's something I wish didn't have to grow. I wish we did not have to have a W.A.R.M, but I'm so glad that we have W.A.R.M in our community for what they provide for everyone.
One can see transformation in the volunteer, who is a part of something bigger than they ever imagined.
I mean, it does, again, make us mindful, and that's why we enjoy doing it, is, we're mindful of how many people are out there, how many people have stories and who live vastly different lives from the ones that we have. And we know it's not anything that we've done to deserve it. It's just, different circumstances again.
It's really, I think, help build your confidence and your comfort with meeting new people and talking to people and really learning how to be an advocate for someone else.
If I probably didn't do W.A.R.M, I would probably be stage fright.
Stage fright? Yeah. Yeah.
The birth of W.A.R.M began 45 years ago, but continues to grow and flourish and remains relevant with each new job connection, each meal served, each family freed from the fear of not making it.
W.A.R.M also serves as a bridge that is able to bring together the various parts of our community, from the faith community, the business community, education, government, business. W.A.R.M is able to serve as an umbrella to bring our community together.
From my position as the City of Westerville, it provides the opportunity for employers to meet employees because they provide mentoring services, financial services, tutoring services, resume services. So it's all the things that help people pull themselves up and become self-reliant again.
W.A.R.M is interwoven into the fabric of the Westerville community as host of Westerville Community Prayer Breakfast. Raising awareness and a call to action with the Great Westerville Food Truck Fest. W.A.R.M supports other community events such as Fourth Fridays, the 4th of July Parade, and Westerville Music and Arts Festival. In partnership, hundreds of people take part in key food drives initiated by service organizations such as the Westerville Rotary Clubs. And many champions produce their own third-party events that benefit W.A.R.M clients with neighborhood food drives and fundraisers. Does Westerville have people in need? Yes. However, Westerville has thousands of people who embrace the mission to feed, care, and love their neighbor, to provide dignity and hope while offering a hand up, giving a warm smile and a compassionate arm around each neighbor who hopes and prays for a life of God-reliant self-sufficiency.
It's something I wish didn't have to grow. I wish we did not have to have a W.A.R.M, but I'm so glad that we have W.A.R.M in our community for what they provide for everyone.
This is not just a food pantry, but they offer so many services to keep people self-reliant, self-sufficient.
I do think that W.A.R.M is the most important institution in Westerville. You could only account for the success of having a place like this because the Spirit was at work. I mean, that would not have been possible without the Spirit's help.
W.A.R.M is not a building. It's people. W.A.R.M looks forward to serving for many more years to come and invites each of you to join in the journey of provision and transformation.